Welcome to LUXEtalk, where we talk purpose, positivity, and all things luxury. I'm your host, Lisa Berg, and today we have Jordan Stolch with us. Jordan is a personal stylist and image strategy expert and the founder of MiKADO Personal Styling. She helps professionals and entrepreneurs develop a confident personal style that aligns with their identity and goals. Through her styling programs, courses, and media appearances, Jordan has worked with hundreds of clients and students to transform how they show up personally and professionally. Hello, Jordan, and welcome.
Hi, Lisa. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited to get into what you do as a personal stylist and how you can help our audience today.
I'm so excited to talk about this.
So tell me, how does personal style influence confidence and professional presence?
I love this question. This really feels like the basis of what it's all about. I think a lot of times we think about style and we think about confidence and we think it's really just about what I call achieving like a pinnacle of style or achieving
Yes.
if I could just know what's in style right now, or if I could just be trendy. I think a lot of times there's this surface level assumption that I would feel more confident if I was able to know the answer to those questions. But ultimately, what it's really about is achieving what I call inner and outer congruency or inner and outer alignment,
Okay.
where we are able to get really clear on who we are as a person.
I love that. That is
Personality, skill set, background, education, everything, soul, heart, everything that's important to us as an individual, and then figure out how do we represent ourselves outwardly in a way that aligns with that. So when we think about style and we think about confidence and we think about connecting the two, it's much less about the actual clothing. It's much less about achieving that pinnacle of I'm dressed a certain way. And it's much more about getting really clear on who am I and how do I represent myself in a way that feels like me, that I feel powerful in. When I look in the mirror, I feel like I recognize myself, or I feel like, you know, that feeling when you look in the mirror, there's Lisa. I feel good about this. I feel excited to participate in my life feeling this way. That's inner and outer alignment. And when we think about style influencing confidence, that's the piece that we're always looking for. Does that
I
make
love
sense? The
that.
difference
Yes,
between those
I
two
I
things.
absolutely love that because I believe that when you are dressed confident, it just exudes through you. Like you can just see
It
confidence
does.
pouring
Yeah.
out. When you feel good, you look good, you act good.
But I think it's such a misconception that we often hold, not necessarily you, it may not be a misconception that you hold, but it's a really common misconception that style, in order to be included in the conversation and in order for it to influence your confidence, it has to look a particular way, whether
Mhm.
that's the way we're shown in the media or the way that the
Right.
style industry positions it to us, or the way that we're told it needs to look for our age or our industry or whatever it is. That's
Yes.
much less of what's important here. And it's much more about how do we get really clear on who we are and then get excited to represent that through the external part of self. Because the
I
two are
love
really
that.
aligned, aren't they? We cannot separate the
Right.
physical self from the inner self. Like we often have conversation around, I'm not the body, or I'm not this, I'm so much more than just this. And we are so much more than just that. But we also are this physical body while we're here in this physical life. And so in order to align those two sides together is really at the foundation of confidence, I believe.
I love that, Jordan, because it's such a wide, awesome perspective that you just painted. And I have not heard it come from that angle before, but I absolutely love what you had to say
Because you
about that.
can also think about the opposite side of that or the converse side of that when somebody feels this extreme disconnect
Mm,
between who they are and they look in the mirror and if that feeling of, have you ever had this feeling of, I don't recognize myself?
yeah. No, I
Whether
know
we've
exactly.
gone through changes in the body, changes in life, mindset, stress, whatever it is, and we look in the mirror and there's that feeling of, I don't recognize, that's not me, what I'm seeing in the mirror. The way that we show up in our life when we're operating from that place is completely different than the way we show up in our life when we're operating from that's me. That's how I want to be seen. That's how I want people to see me. That, if we're able to do, that's a game changer.
I love that, Jordan. That is excellent. That is so
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are, in your opinion, some common
Yeah.
like style mistakes that professionals make?
There's two big ones. They're not going to be the ones that you think. So when we say
Okay.
style mistakes, we're thinking like something about an outfit or something along those lines. For me, the two biggest style mistakes are, number one, not thinking about it. So not having this conversation you and I are having, and ultimately, even further than that, consciously eliminating ourselves from the conversation. So saying something like, it doesn't pertain to me, or dismissing it. My intellect is enough, my experience is enough, my background is enough, what I've achieved is enough. Caring about this part of self, it doesn't apply to me. That, to my opinion, is the biggest mistake a professional can make. Again, not that we're pushing them to achieve a certain type of style or look a certain
Right.
type of way,
Right.
but that they're eliminating that part altogether and not recognizing that there's a tool. I always say there's a tool sitting on the table right in front of you. And you can pick it up and it is easy to use once you understand how to use it. And it can cause a dramatic difference in the way that you show up for your business, for your clients, for yourself. Not utilizing it when it's something that's able to cause change.
What are some common style mistakes you feel that professionals make?
Amazing question. And there's two really big ones that I see a lot of professionals make. If we can avoid these two, it makes a huge difference in terms of
Okay.
style and confidence in our business. First one being just not including ourselves in the style conversation to begin with. So having the mindset of, and we see this often, having the
Okay.
mindset of, it doesn't pertain to me. Like maybe I've achieved a certain level of success in my business. People know me for what I've done. My experience should speak for itself. My intellect should speak for itself. My results should speak for themselves. Where I am financially should speak for itself. I shouldn't have to care about it. This is something we see often, and this typically comes up when somebody doesn't want to think about the style piece because maybe they don't understand it. And so it's a lot
Right.
easier to say, I'm going to dismiss it and not include myself in the conversation than to say, I don't really understand it, but I want to learn. The first one really is just a flat out dismissal and the not recognizing that style is simply a tool that we can utilize that allows us to show up differently in our business.
That's
It's
excellent,
a big
Jordan.
one.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah.
How can entrepreneurs align their personal style with their brand?
Oh, wonderful question. And this is the first place that we want to begin. If we're thinking about style and we're thinking about our brand, the most obvious place that people want to reach for is thinking, I need to start shopping, or I need to get more clothing, or the answer must be somewhere right there. And there's something we want to think about before we ever start shopping or before we're ever going to the closet to get more clothing, which is what I call messaging. So messaging is like storytelling. We see that any brand you can think of that is really good in branding and consistency in branding is always telling a story. And the same thing is true of us as individual business owners. How are we able to tell a story about who we are, what we want people to see of us, what we want to see within ourselves? Messaging is the first place that we begin in style. So here I would invite anyone who's wanting to think about this a little bit more to start to think about, what is the message that I want to convey, or what's the story that I want to tell? When people interact with my business, they interact with my brand, or they interact with me, they find me on social media, they meet me at a marketing event, whatever it might be. What's the story that I want to tell? What's the message that I want to convey to them? When we think about including style in business, we always want to start there. If we were to start by just going to the mall and buying more clothing, we would only end up buying more of what we already have. We just repeat what we've already done. So the first place we always want to begin is thinking about, well, what is the story that I'm telling? If we think about any good brand, the consistency in messaging is always there. I think you're very good at this, Lisa. Anytime that I'm scrolling through Instagram, it's like an immediate recognition of branding, of the way you position yourself, of the way you present yourself. That's consistency in messaging. So when we're thinking about style and how we bring that into our business, we do the same thing. So we want to start to ask ourselves, like, when people are interacting with my business, how do I want them to feel? How do I want them to feel about me? What do I want them to know about me? What do I want them to take away from me? And then how do I include style in that? It's the first place we always want to begin.
That's great, Jordan. That is so well put. Because I think, again, branding really gives an audience what you're about. It basically speaks before you have a chance to,
It
if that makes sense.
it totally does. And in the world that we're in right now, with everything available online, and our competitors online, our customers online, and them able to find us right away,
Right.
it's an instantaneous message that we're conveying to them, or a story that we're giving to them. And we want to be in charge of that story. We want to be able to take ownership of that story and tell the story that we want to.
That's perfect. I love that, Jordan. That's great. So tell us, what does visual identity play in how people perceive you? Like when someone is trying to have a visual identity and how you're going to be perceived by others. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I think it's very similar to what we were just talking about, but it's that almost instantaneous recognition of something. People buy from people that they're really connected to, or that they feel connected to. And so that instantaneous recognition of there's a connection here with this person for some reason. I might not know what it is, but it's coming through visuals. Obviously, it's the first thing that we have. It really lands right there. And when we think about, for a lot of us, the industries that we're in, the thing that we're selling more than the products we're selling, more than if we think about real estate, if we think about in my industry, I'm selling clothing ultimately to a lot of my customers. More than just selling clothing, I'm selling lifestyle. And so are you. And so when we think about visual identity, we're thinking about lifestyle more than we're thinking about anything else. And when we can get clear on the story about the lifestyle that we want to tell to a potential customer, that's how it factors in right there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And I love that too. The whole storytelling thing. I love that side of it because it really does give an insight into who you are as a person by the way you're styled. And I think that's great because people have a tendency to go with someone they know and trust. And I think
Absolutely.
that all just ties in beautifully together.
But that they know and trust, and that also is a representation of whatever that lifestyle piece is that they're trying to move in the direction of. So
That's so
where
good.
we
Yes.
started at the very beginning, when we started talking about it not being about achieving a particular style, but it being about achieving a style that's right for you. People aren't looking to you to have the same style as them. They're looking to you for your authenticity, for your confidence within yourself, and for your representation of that story that you're telling. That's really what they're reaching
That
for, though.
Yeah, no, that's so good, Jordan. It's everyone's so different. Everybody's style's so different. And that's what
Mhm.
makes us all uniquely us. And if we were
Absolutely.
all cut from the exact same cloth, life would be boring. So
It totally will be.
I think that's so well put.
Yeah.
So can you fill me in on how professionals would build a wardrobe that supports their career goals without spending all of their time?
It's hard, isn't it? Because it feels like it takes a lot of time, and there is a time element involved in style. But the time element often comes in when we aren't clear on what the style is. Like let's say we're not clear on the message that we talked about before, and then we're not really clear on what our style is. And so a lot of the time goes into shopping, like aimlessly walking around stores, wondering, is this right for me or is it not? A lot of time goes into trying to make outfits. We're feeling like I'm just standing in the closet. It's like this sea of clothing and I don't know what to do here. A lot of the time element for people is coming from, it's a symptom of not being clear on what the style actually is. So the
Right.
place that we want to start with is what I call upfront time. There's
Okay.
in style, there's upfront time required, where we start in the beginning and we get clear on what the style is. So I would invite anyone to start there and know in the beginning, there's going to be a little bit of time that I need to put into this. And I need to start to think about, okay, I've thought about this message and I've thought about what's the story that I'm trying to tell to somebody. And now I'm going to take it one step further and I'm going to think about what does that look like to me? The biggest pieces that make style really strong for somebody is authenticity. If the
Yes.
style is authentic to who they are. So when I think about my message, I then want to ask myself, what does that message look like to me? Not to Lisa, not to anybody else.
Right.
But if
Right.
it's rooted in authenticity, I need to be clear on what does it look like to me. So upfront time is going to look like gathering photos or gathering some ideas, getting clear on this is how I want to position myself in my brand, and it's going to look like this. That's the
Mhm.
extent of it. And it doesn't take too much time and it's not too daunting. I think it's quite fun, actually, to do
Yeah, no,
some
definitely.
research, and that part of it is fun. So we do some research at the top and we get a sense, I call it a visual blueprint. We get a sense
Okay.
of what it is that we're building. And then
Yeah.
from there, we start to ask ourselves, what do I have in the closet right now that would allow me to bring this to life? We're not trying to reinvent the wheel or build an entirely new person. So chances are you're going to have a lot of those things already. You're going to look at the images that you've gathered and you're going to ask yourself, of everything that I see here, what do I already have? Whatever I have, I don't need, I'm going to utilize what I have right now. And then I'm going to make a list of what do I not have? And then from those
Right. So
things,
more so building on what they have. So if they have a wardrobe full of things, you would help recommend like adding pieces or different elements of
yeah,
texture and style and that kind of thing.
exactly. And I would always recommend, if the question is really about building a professional wardrobe, it's about how do we do this intentionally
Okay.
and strategically so that we're not, again, as I said before, going to the mall and just wandering around. And that's where the time component really comes in, is spending money we don't need to be spending and accumulating more stuff than we need. It's getting clear
Right.
on what do I already have that works. I really like this. It aligns with the direction that I'm going in. And then starting to list out, what do I need? When I look at all these images that I've pulled together on my style blueprint, what would I actually need in order to bring this style to life? What's going to move the needle the most? And then shop in accordance with that. So let's say we've listed out 10 things. Maybe we start with just 2 of them. We go to the mall and we're
Okay.
just looking for 2 and we get those and we add those in. Then the next time we go, 2 more. We get those and we add those in. It's a slow build, but it's
Right.
intentional. And
Always
everything.
adding, always
Yeah,
adding.
slowly adding, playing with what you have, not thinking that we need to have it done overnight. I think
Right.
that's when it's a big mistake that a lot of people make. They think, okay, I'm going to address the style, so I'm going to buy
Right.
everything at one time.
It takes time.
It takes time. So it's clarity up front, and then every time you come back to it, it gets easier and it gets faster. Same with
Right.
outfits. The more clear you get on what your style is, the more the outfits become easier. Because it's
Yes.
not a question of, is this my style? Is it not? Do I like this? Do I not like this? There's more clarity. The further you go, the easier it is to put things together, the faster it happens.
That makes complete sense. And when you talk about a style blueprint, where should people get that blueprint idea? How should they build it out? What does that look like?
It's a really good question. So I have all of my clients and students build it out on Pinterest because Pinterest is just so easy to build something out visually. We could do this other ways. We could save photos onto our phone if that worked better for us. We could cut out of a magazine if that worked better for us. I just personally think that Pinterest is really easy. What we want to be doing here is gathering enough ideas so that when we look at it, we're number one, excited by it. So we look at it,
Yeah.
and we see, oh my goodness, this could be me. This could be the way that I represent myself in my business, and I feel excited by it. So that's number one. And number two, we want to have enough ideas on there that we can pick up on patterns and themes. So style is really about pattern recognition. The ability to develop a style is about pattern recognition. So if I can look at a lot of photos and start to pick up on, Lisa's shown me all of these looks. What's consistent amongst them? What would she need? What keeps repeating in all of these looks?
Okay.
Give me indication. Okay, I would ask you. I see blazer keeps repeating. Do you have that? I see a lot of deep saturated color continues to repeat. Do you have that? I see a lot of play on simple accessories. There's belts, there's simple jewelry, structured handbags. Do you have that? And anything that you would say, no, I don't have that, would go on to that list of eventually when I'm thinking about shopping, this is what I need to shop for. So it's not arbitrarily going into the store and just buying whatever you're drawn to. It's thinking about what do I intentionally need and then slowly building out that way.
And that's wonderful too. When you build that way, then you, like you mentioned earlier, not adding all these additional things that you don't need, basically spending your money on things that make sense to add to your wardrobe so that financially it makes sense and ideally it gives you the look that you're going for. So that's wonderful. Wonderful.
Yes. Slow build,
Yeah,
but
that's
it gets
great.
easier as you go.
Yes, that's excellent. So, for women out there listening, the best thing that they could start doing is just collecting pieces and photos of what they're
But men as
for.
well. I do. It's the exact same. We follow the exact same process that I'm giving to you. Whether it's celebrity, I started my career in celebrity styling and editorial and branding. So if we were doing it for a celebrity, if we were doing this for an advertising campaign for a brand, if we were doing this, if I was doing this for a client, if a student was doing this, it's always the same process, male or female. We want to get clear on messaging first and then show ourselves what it's going to look like. As soon as we know what it's going to look like, we get really excited to bring it to life. It's in the absence of knowing, it's in the absence of having the answer that we go back to what I said before, feeling like that person who says, style's just not for me. It's easier for me to dismiss it than it is for me to say, I don't understand it. So if we can start to understand it by showing ourselves what it could look like, then we get excited by it. And when we're excited by it, we're more inclined to take action on it. When we take action on it, we start to see results, and confidence comes from there.
That is wonderful. I think you're exactly right. When they feel confident, it just shows.
Yeah.
That is so great.
Yeah.
So can you tell me what small changes can make a big impact on how someone shows up?
Yeah, in their style and in their outfits, what makes a big difference in the way that they show up? There's a few things. I think body is a big one. We haven't really talked about body that much, but for a lot of people, body is a big one. So if we understand our body, if we understand how to choose clothing that fits our body, and we're able to put that clothing on the body and show up like that, it solves 90% of style challenges for most people. Conversely, we know what it feels like to, have you ever felt this way, Lisa? Where you've had clothing, I don't know if you've ever struggled with fitting your body, but.
Oh, yeah. I have, absolutely, yes.
Where you put clothing on the body and maybe you've needed to go speak somewhere, you're at an event, or there's people around you, and you're so aware for the entirety of the day that something's not fitting you. And there's just this narrative in the back of the mind of, I just want to go home. Are people looking at this? Are people comfortable in this? So when we're thinking about what are small things that make a huge impact on the way somebody shows up, having clothing that fits your body, game changer. Now, there's obviously education that goes into that. We need to understand our body. We need to learn about the body. But again, not being the person who flat out dismisses it, who says, style's not for me because nothing ever fits me and no brands make clothing that work for this type of body that I have. But instead saying, I'm going to learn, I'm going to figure out this body and then be able to choose clothing that fits this body. Game changer in terms of the way we show up. Another big one is spending a little bit of time planning ahead of time if it's something significant. So here it's if we're speaking on a stage, I can only see my upper body, but if we're going to something like this, or if we're meeting with a client, or maybe it's not even in business, we're going on a date, or we have something significant like that. This was obvious, but many people are not doing this. If we plan it ahead of time, so give ourselves a little bit of time, not only to think about what it's going to be, but I always call it a test drive, to give ourselves a couple hours of a test drive ahead of time. It's the same thing as what I just said about having clothing on that doesn't fit you properly. If you go to speak on a stage, let's say, you haven't done a test drive and you've bought something brand new, and now you're discovering, or you're a couple hours into a networking event and you realize it's completely wrinkled, or it shows sweat stains, or the color, everyone's taking photos and you didn't realize what the color looked like on you.
Or you're tugging at it, or you're pulling at it, or it's not fitting or something like that. Absolutely.
In order to, that piece that we said before, inner and outer alignment, in order to really achieve inner and outer alignment, the clothing shouldn't even, you shouldn't even think about it. It should feel like a second skin. It should feel so good on you. It should fit your body. It should align with your style goals so clearly that when you're speaking on that stage, you are not speaking and at the same time running a story in the background that says, is everybody looking at my stomach? Or is this fitting in a weird way or something like that? The clothing should be the last thing you're thinking about if it's truly supporting you. So if we can plan ahead of time when we have something significant, do a test drive, wear something around your home for 3 hours and see, how does it wear? What do I feel like? What does it look like after 3 hours? Makes a huge difference in terms of showing up.
No, that's wonderful. That's excellent advice, Jordan, because if you wear it around your house for a few hours, you know what the mishaps are going to be and all the things that you can head it off and pass before it becomes a problem.
There's so many times that we've tried something on, let's say, in the bathroom, and it feels, okay, this is good. And then we catch a glimpse in different lighting. We're in a different environment, and all of a sudden you're like, how did this look good at home? And now it looks totally different. We want to be able to get out ahead of that.
Exactly. Awesome. That's wonderful advice. So what systems or habits help people simplify their wardrobe? What can people do just to, I think we touched on it a little bit, by just being real conscious about the pieces that we're picking out and that kind of thing, and intentional. Exactly. Yeah.
There's so many intentionality pieces that we can bring into style that makes it so much easier. And this brings us back to that upfront time versus everything else becoming much more simplified. So the first thing that I would recommend, especially if it's somebody who maybe like you, Lisa, is really public facing, they're attending a lot of events, they're having to put outfits together quite frequently, documenting. So taking photos of things, taking photos of your outfits, building a roster of outfits that you can just go to your phone and look at. What did I style with that white sweater? What did I remember? I put something under that blazer and I loved the way it looked and now I can't remember.
Right.
What
How many
accessory?
times have we done that? Like,
Many
I
times.
remember I loved this outfit
Yeah.
and it, but
But
what was
it?
it?
So just getting into the habit of taking a photo of everything. This is also very helpful for somebody who's trying to understand their body and understand how different things are fitting the body. The more that we can take photos of something, get over any kind of apprehension we have around taking photos. You do not need to post them. It's just for you. Take the photos, have a document of everything. That's a big one.
That's excellent.
Another
Jordan.
big one,
Love that.
having the closet set up in a way that supports you is huge.
Okay.
So what we've done messaging and we've done style blueprints. Between those two things, we should be
Okay.
very clear on what the style is. From there, we do not want to have a closet that looks nothing like what we've just built. That makes sense,
Right.
doesn't it? So we want to ultimately be able to have a closet that has clothing that fits us, clothing that looks like our style blueprint, clothing that conveys the message that we're trying to convey. And otherwise, it really doesn't have a reason to be in the closet, does it?
No, that's
So
a
we
really
want
good
to
point.
start thinking about, do I have stuff in here that's 3 sizes too small and I'm holding on to it in hopes of it fitting again and it's getting in the way every time I go in the closet? It's okay if we have that stuff, but it needs to get out of the closet.
Right.
So put it in another closet, put it in the garage, fold it up into a box, put it under your bed if you can't get rid of it yet, but get it out of there. The only things that belong in the closet when we go in the morning, we want to talk about speed and efficiency. I should only see stuff that is going to fit me, that I'm excited to wear, that makes sense with my style. So anything that doesn't fit that criteria, get it out.
It's got to go. Okay.
Majority
So
of people
on that whole, oh, go
Yeah.
ahead.
I was just going to say majority of people are only wearing 30% of what's in their closet. And the reason is because there's just so much stuff in the way. There's so much
Right.
stuff that it doesn't work for the style anymore, but it's still in there. And so we can't get at the good stuff. If we can just have the good stuff in there, the stuff that fits me, the stuff I'm excited to wear, it makes life so much easier.
That's so true. In fact, I went through my closet the other day and I donated 4 full bags of stuff. And I
Amazing.
can't tell you how
What's
good
the
that
best
felt.
feeling? Yeah.
How good it felt. But then I thought to myself, I'm making room for more things that I do want. And now when I walk into
Exactly.
my closet, it's intentional. It
Yes.
feels fresh. It feels put away. It feels clean. So on that note, Jordan, do you think that like color coordinating in your closet is important and the styles of things? What do you recommend as far as
Yeah.
like inside the closet? Because it makes it easier if you have it, in my opinion, organized.
Totally.
Can you elaborate
Yes.
on that?
I have found clients and students to differ on this. So there's a few different approaches that we could take. I usually, for a client, will organize by what I call item type.
Okay.
So all the jackets together and all the pants together and everything's separated by item type. I find that to be the easiest. Me personally, that's how my closet is organized. That's the easiest for me. For some clients and students, it will be what you're saying, color coordinated. So everything black is together and separated that way. In my mind, my feeling is if I'm going to the closet knowing I need a jacket, I want to be able to go to the jacket section and pull something out of there. I might color coordinate within that section. I probably would.
Okay.
But I would separate by item type typically. I find that it's just easiest to go and to pick out that way. I would also separate oftentimes by season if the home allows for it. So that way, especially if you're living in somewhere where there's extreme season differentiation, not me here in Los Angeles, but if we're living somewhere like that, the more that we can get out of the closet so that what's in there feels like I'm excited by all of this, meaning I'm going to use all of it. I'm not just going to be drawn to that same shirt that I keep pulling over and over again because there's so much clutter getting in the way. I've got all my winter stuff out. I've got spring and summer in here. It's organized. I can see it. I can grab different things and wear everything.
Yes, exactly. And it just gives a fresh feel where you feel like you can walk in there and come out successful.
Totally. Yeah. Totally, and it shouldn't take long. I always say to a student, I want you dressed well in under 10 minutes. There's no reason for somebody to be spending 30 minutes in the closet when they have a busy day trying to figure out what to wear.
That's great advice, Jordan. That is excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate you joining us today on our podcast. It was so lovely to see you. And I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Thank you so much for having me, Lisa.
Thanks for listening to Luxe Talk, where faith leads, luxury inspires, and life is elevated. If you enjoyed this episode, subscribe, rate, and review the podcast, and share it with someone navigating all things luxury. For more luxury insights, market education, and elevated conversations, follow Luxe Talk, turn on notifications, and join us for what's coming next. Stay elevated, stay informed, and stay connected with Luxe Talk.